My name is Alicia Crawford. I am one of the co-managers of Hot Kicks. We also have Jake, Alex, and Paul who will be introducing themselves later in the video. Our team was 2H and our industry is athletic footwear. So a little bit more about Hot Kicks as a company and our strategic vision. So our vision was to become the #1 leading athletic shoe company in the industry. We as a team were constantly trying to improve and develop a high quality shoe at a price that was affordable for our customers. We were practicing corporate responsibility within the company and making ethical decisions about diversifying our products with how much percentage for superior materials versus just standard, and the cost. By improving working conditions, by providing childcare facilities for our employees as well as safety protocols, they were more than willing and excited to provide excellent customer service for us. We were also promoting ethical training and providing energy efficiency initiatives within the company and our business model as a whole. With these enhancements, we were continuing to thrive as a company and then in the athletic footwear industry. So a little bit more about our competitive strategy in year 11 in North America. So our initial strategy was more of a broad differentiation strategy. We were focusing on retaining loyal customer bases by carrying more products and offering free shipping. Our products, it was like a high quality shoe that was at a high to medium price range is what we were trying to achieve in the first year. One of our other main goals was to have the highest SQ rating among competitors. We saw a lot of advantage in SQ rating, so we wanted to keep that going throughout the years and start really high in year 11. Also demonstrating ethical training and providing excellent customer service for our customers is something that we were thriving to start off strong with in year 11. So by implementing the practices in the before slide, utilizing free shipping and focusing on the SQ rating and our strategy, we came in 9th place for year 11. Our earnings per share was 1.70. Our return on equity was 14.6. Our stock price was 44.66. Our credit rating was A minus, and our image rating was 74. So on our map below for year 11, we were kind of clustered with everybody else. We didn't start our high-end low models process till the previous years, to the previous years. So right now we were kind of competing against everyone in the initial phase.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Jake Heath. I'm the next co-manager that's going to speak. What I'm going to talk about on the first slide here is our final competitive strategy in North America. So we did continue to focus on that high SQ rating to drive sales. Across the board, you usually settled somewhere around a 9. Whether it was an 8.8, 8.9, all the way to about a 9.1. We did want to have a high SQ rating to drive sales. So with that, we naturally had to have a slightly higher price than our competitors. We usually settled somewhere around $2 or $3 above that average price, and that was kind of across the board. At the beginning, we noticed our search engine advertising and our brand advertising was fairly low compared to our competitors. So naturally, the increased sales, we drove those numbers up to eventually get to the point where we're usually in the top half of advertising spent. Obviously, the ultimate goal is to maximize production to meet demand. We noticed across the board that we had a number of out of stocks. We just weren't producing enough. And so we did have to buy and purchase refurbished and new equipment to have that high SQ rating while also meeting demand across North America, Asia, and Latin America, because we were not producing in Europe, with the ultimate goal of eliminating out of stocks. Toward the end, right, we're always trying to gain market share. That's how you grow as a business. We did try to compete with teams G and C. They were the ones that were going with our kind of high SQ rating, low number of models. And so in order to compete with them, we were trying to gain market share from them and really focused on them in regards to their price and what they were doing to hopefully kind of steal the business away from those two teams. Continuing on here, you can kind of see where our year 17 scoreboard. Unfortunately, we were at number 9, kind of toward the bottom there. Kind of reviewing some of our numbers, our earnings per share at 0.017, ROE return on investment at 2.1, our stock price of 5.01, and our credit rating of C minus. So obviously not where we wanted to be. We actually did end up driving those numbers up toward the end of the last couple of years. But we dug ourselves too big of a hole at the beginning to really recover there. What we were proud of, though, and what we did spend quite a bit of money and time on was our image rating, settling in at the end there of an 84, and that high quality SQ rating of a 9. We did feel like we were on the right track. We just needed a little bit more time and kind of figuring out the game and the process. So that's kind of where we settled. So this is going to continue on. This is our net revenue. Starting at the top, we do have our internet. This is where we did feel like we actually succeeded, kind of had that nice upward trajectory of our internet sales. We did figure that price out, and we felt like we were doing a good job there. The next one is our wholesale price. This is where we absolutely did not meet demand, and so therefore those wholesalers stopped carrying our shoes, and you can see it and reflected in the numbers. You kind of have that up and down pattern. Just didn't do a good job on our wholesale price and meeting demand. Third one is our private label. Because we weren't meeting demand in a few years, we obviously didn't have the money or the capacity to actually make private label shoes and sell them. That's why we had a couple years there where we could afford it, but then unfortunately we weren't able to do so every year. At the bottom there, our total net revenue, you can see that certainly there were some years there where we just weren't on the right track. We had dips in year 12. It looks like year 14, 15, and 16, we just had a negative trajectory. But we were confident at the end that we were heading in the right direction with a gain in year 16 to 17. But unfortunately, that settled us at the bottom of the pack.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching this presentation for Hot Kicks, Company H's financial performance for year 10 through year 17. My name is Paul Wayman with Hot Kicks, and I'll be covering our earnings per share, our stock price, and our strategic competition for the period. For our earnings per share, our EPS remained low through the period, primarily due to the fact that we failed to increase production to capture market share, thereby increasing revenues to drive EPS. We did not build capacity early on, and therefore were unable to meet demand. In addition, our stock price never reached a high enough price for us to repurchase shares in order to increase EPS. And the increase in earnings per share for year 17 for Company H was primarily due for our increased production capacity, leveraging our high SQ rating, and lowering some of our quality materials and cost adjustments. Hotkick's share price fell from a high of $30 per share year 10 down to $5 per share by year 12 and remained flat to year 17. Several factors contributed to the low stock price. First of all, we failed to build capacity to meet demand, therefore negatively impacting revenues. The low revenues impacted the earnings per share, and a negative ROE for years 15 and 16 shook shareholder confidence. In addition, the organization built capacity in a North America plant early on and never utilized that capacity for production operations. Therefore, revenue was wasted that could have otherwise been used in profit-generating activities. Our closest strategic competitor was Guru, Company G, who ended year 17 with a similar quality and similar product line breadths. Both organizations seem to be focused on executing a low model, value-priced, high-quality strategy. Both organizations seem to have relatively low market share, and ours primarily due to inability to meet demand due to low production capabilities. In addition, we exited private label sales in year 14, which limited our revenue recognition capabilities. Both organizations' pricing were very similar. Both organizations' SQ ratings were very similar. And we believe that our value priced with high quality was gaining market share in year 17 and would continue to gain market share in the upcoming years. With that, I turn it over to Alex. Thank you.
Hi, this is Alex Matson. I'm the fourth and final co-manager for Team H. I'm going to talk a little bit about our competitor strategy as we move into the future. As you heard my teammates talk about, we've focused on Team G as one of our main competitors. Taking a look here at the North America region in year 17, they dominated market share over us in both the internet segment and wholesale segment. So let's start with our third strategy, third part of our strategy, I should say, which is more retailer support and retail outlets to cut into that market share. Model availability, you can see that along with SQ rating were both significantly higher for Team G. And considering we were both teams on the high end of SQ rating, it's a big leap forward for them to be that high. So definitely something we want to look at along with their model availability, which was double ours. And the cornerstone of our strategy moving forward is going to be to focus on costs. We're charging in North America $1 per more internet, $5 per more wholesale compared to Team G, and we're spending a lot more money. Not necessarily here when you look at our advertising and things like that and the marketing spend, but there's a lot of things on the distribution side, production side that need to get fixed. So focusing on costs there is going to allow us to spend more money here and gain some ground on Team G as we move forward. Let's talk a little bit about our lessons learned over the course of our time in the industry. Projections are great, but shouldn't be viewed as a source of truth. A mistake we made early on was faulty assumptions guiding projections, leading us to bad places, right? So make sure that the math on your assumptions is solid. That's going to help make sure your projections are great, but always remember that's not a source of truth. And you want to start to think a little bit more intuitively about what you're actually going to expect rather than solely relying on projections. Don't forget about private label sales. I know we didn't have any in year 17, but we did take advantage in other years, and we found it to be a good opportunity. Monitor competitors with the highest market share closely. Very obvious one here, but important. Making sure that you understand what moves they're making, why they're making, that's going to help you understand why they're dominating so much of the market share. So you should be studying them as closely as you study your customers. Adapting to a new strategy takes time. We had to shift, and we didn't see results right away, but I think where we ended in year 17 speaks volumes about us trusting that strategy, even though it took a little bit of time. Which markets are the most responsive? Focus on those. It's another no-brainer, but just make sure that you understand which markets are going to be the most responsive, and that doesn't mean like globally to every other company out there. That means to you, right? Which markets are the most responsive to you? Focus on those. And don't forget to fall back on your resources. In this case, it was the player's guide or the wealth of data that you have in the competitive advantages section to give you some knowledge that's going to help guide your strategic decisions moving forward. A couple more lessons. This one's a big one. Can you describe every single one of your costs and by extension explain your margins? Margins are everything, especially when it comes to apparel and retail and distribution, things like that. So it's easy to take the margins at face value, but do you understand every single cost and revenue that goes into that? Can you describe each and every single one of those? If you can't, that's something you need to figure out, and then you can start moving forward and making strategic decisions. Don't be afraid to pivot, right? If something's not working, or you have a read on the market or the way maybe consumers or your competitors are responding to you, don't be afraid to pivot. And a failure to understand the global distribution and tariffs, etc., that are involved in the footwear industry, that's huge. This is a no-brainer, but I think another one where you probably take it at face value and maybe think you understand it, but failure to understand it properly is going to cost you. And I think if we look at the teams that succeeded, you'll see that they did a very good job of understanding that part of this the best and making sure that they are spending the least money in that area. On behalf of Hotcakes, I'd like to thank you for watching the presentation. I hope you found it insightful and gives you a little bit of a better view into why we made the decisions that we did and why we plan to execute on the strategy that we plan to going forward.